Lunar D8 6 seconds ago. A healthy society has happy families. No, that's inadequate. A society that isn't on the brink of collapse is filled to the brim with happy, healthy, unbroken nuclear families that love each other. Happy families take their kids trick-or-treating. Young people with friends and social networks go trick-or-treating. If there are no trick-or-treaters, then there are no happy families. Happy families are the core of a society with a future. How many of you remember going trick-or-treating when you were younger? Or taking your children in the past, or sitting on your porch handing out candy? Can you tell me your experience with that in the past as well as this year and recent years? Or other holidays?
I didn't feel like reading all
The happiest
this.
day of my life is the day my son was born. I saw the ultimate goal of all holidays as to create happy memories for my family. I wanted to give my son a happy, normal childhood and be there for him every day. I tried my best to be the best father and husband I could be. My family was my #1 priority. I will always love my son, but I am currently estranged from him. I still feel heartbroken from him moving out back when I got divorced all those years ago, as well heartbroken about not having seen or heard from him in months. I don't even know if he went trick-or-treating, let alone what he went as or where. But that is a common story for many men when they get divorced. I remember taking my son trick-or-treating when he was 1 and 2 years old. He had so much fun, as did I. Even before he was born, I would sing him lullabies to him in the womb and tell him I love him. He lived with me till a few weeks after his 3rd birthday,
Yes.
when my divorce was official. Then a week after that, there were issues with how his mother was being towards
Yes, I'm still eating the box of
He
Oreos.
into custody of his grandparents on his mother's side. I pay the child support to them. It was necessary for him to live with them since it was the only way to stop his mother from causing his death. I know he is still alive because he didn't live with her, so I know I made the right choice. He is still alive because of the choices I made. He is in the best place in the world for him. I just wish I could be more involved. I miss him, but they have always taken good care of him and loved him as if he were their own child. I didn't like him not living with me anymore, but it was a sacrifice I had to make to protect him and make sure that he stayed alive and healthy and safe. I was still involved a decent amount, and he would come over on weekends and spend the night. We would watch some Paw Patrol, sit and play with his toys, go to the park, and I would take him to visit with my parents. Mainly my mom over there when I took him, and the 3 of us would be playing in the backyard, or with toys in the living room, though he never once slept in his bed, which is still in his room to this day. Eve kept his bedroom the same since he was 2 years old. On weekends, when he would spend the night, he would sleep on my bed. I would read him stories when he was over. Then again, I was reading to him every day from time he was born till the divorce. I would change his diapers and bathe him and feed him when he a little baby. I taught him to walk. His first words were Daddy and I love you Daddy. Aside from catching the latest episode of Team for Star abridged, I was never on YouTube or the internet at all. Heck, that period of my life, I hardly played any video games at all.
Yeah, I think last time he actually slept in his bed was before I got divorced.
I haven't even seen him blow out his candles on a birthday cake since he was 3 years old. I still have the candles and decorations from that cake in my freezer.
It's Winnie the Pooh.
I remember taking him to zoo and other places back when he was young. Last time I ever went to the zoo was back when I took him and his mother back when he was 2 years old. I really like the zoo, but I haven't been back since. I don't want to go to the zoo again. And
Yeah, like I said, last time I went to the zoo was back when he was 2 years old. The zoo's cool.
Tubes in ears and adenoids in throat. Granted, not considered dangerous, but I was so anxious. But I pretended not to be because I didn't want to make my family nervous from my worry.
I typed so fucking much.
I got divorced and he moved out of the house, well, apartment. For a couple years he came over on weekends. Then the COVID pandemic happened and lockdowns. I couldn't go see my son. Wasn't my idea, and I even argued for wanting to go see him anyway, but that didn't happen. So phone calls and face chats. It's funny, since day he is born I'd give him 100 hugs a day and tell him a dozen times a day I love you. Then on weekends after the divorce when he came over I'd give him a dozen hugs, and the whole day and night would be me focused on my child and spending time with him. Though there were days I skipped sleep due to overtime at work before he came over. Energy drinks help.
I work a different job now.
Staying awake. But I didn't mind. I was so happy my child was coming over. It's funny, since the day he moved out I started sitting in his bedroom every day for a couple hours talking to his stuffed animals. Nowadays, I only sit in there 15 minutes a day. Sometimes I talk to the stuffed animals. Sometimes I just sit in there quietly, not feeling like talking anymore. Okay, getting off topic. Well, already been there, I started talking about Halloween and how it's a sign of the end of society, that it's not getting celebrated, and I've gone off on a personal tangent about myself.
Yep.
I keep saying I won't talk about my personal problems and stuff anymore, but it bothers me, and I guess I'm forcing all of you to be my therapist. I'm sorry, where was I? But yeah, he came over on weekends for a couple years, then pandemic. And well, we can all agree that was an isolating time. For us all, anyway. After a year of not seeing my son in person, I started a YouTube channel, a place for me to talk without a filter. Before I got married, I would play tons of video games and watch tons of anime, and I was super into watching Let's Plays on YouTube back in the days of Ultra J Man and Proton John and Rum Scout and Freelance Astronauts and Slow Beef. I got back into YouTube again. Also, there was a new addition to YouTube. These people called VTubers, and I thought it was awesome.
VTubers.
Still do, LOL. Babe. It's just the lonely weeb spirit in me that is reminiscent of the movie Blade Runner, but it felt more connecting as well as watching people.
Yes, it's just a bunch of self-depreciation.
I guess I kinda got into YouTube way in the past, cause it was like vicariously having friendships. Most my friends moved away, and I have always had terrible luck with women, so most of my life...
Everyone's like, this makes you sound pathetic. I'm like,
But that certainly has become more pronounced in recent years.
Just saying, is this relatable to anyone?
I talk to myself, and I talk to my mother, who I see like once a month for an hour.
Computer. It's supposed to be a letter R.
Life is work, exercise, video games, anime, other hobbies, and annoying all of you.
I try to juggle and play guitar.
Would at least use this as an income, but I don't want to do that. Even though I could use money, I am adamantly against ever making a cent from this channel. I'm not some brand or business. I'm not here for a paycheck or a handout. I just needed to talk. Not even necessarily about the things that bother me, but just not feel so isolated. But yeah, after the year of 2020 and not seeing my son for about a year, I started this channel as an outlet. Also, I just really like Let's Plays and was excited and just making my own videos. Now I just hop all over the place doing whatever I feel like. I started with a couple vids of me reading a Winnie the Pooh book, but rather than sound happy and peaceful like when ID read to him, instead, in the video, I sound like a demon. My anger and grief at reading to a computer instead of my child seeped through in my voice, and you could hear I was upset and angry. Don't get me wrong, I am grateful to God I was able to have a family, and that he lived with me as long as he did, and that I had some time actually raising him. And I'm so thankful that he is in good health and alive and happy and safe, and that he is well taken care of. His well-being is what matters most to me. But I wanted to raise him. I wanted to live the stereotypical life like in sitcoms, LOL. I wanted to see him blow out his candles on birthdays and take him trick-or-treating every year. See him wake up early on Christ. Show less. 0 comments. Sort by.
Yes, I know, I typed a lot. As the computer struggles to load it. YouTube's like, what the fuck is all this text? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, initially it was just supposed to be like, hey guys, what was your experience with trick-or-treating? You know, it was supposed to be like, hi guys, who went trick-or-treating this year? Who knows somebody went trick-or-treating? Who went trick-or-treating in the past? Who sat on their porch wanting to hand out candy to, you know, kids in the family? Like, I suppose people that are older and actually have families. I'm just saying this from the perspective of people that hand out candy or actually go trick-or-treating or have families to go trick-or-treating with. Does it seem like society is different since the whole 2020 pandemic? Does it seem like everyone's much more distant? Like nothing was the same after 2020. Granted, I understand I had some personal shit going on. Heck, we probably all did, but I'm just saying in general, it feels like society as a whole. I mean, heck, it's harder to meet or talk to anyone just as friends, even if like try to be sociable or just have people to talk to. I think most of us use the internet to sort of, I don't know, supplement. I don't know. to substitute for that. But just if like anyone else feel like society changed after the whole pandemic, like things just weren't the same, whether when it came to families, dating, or just friendships, or when you got public, like when you go to theaters or when you go to like a baseball game or something. Not that I've been to a baseball game in like 20 years, but still. I'm not that interested in watching baseball, okay? I'm not a big sports person. I'm just saying, like, say if you go to like a Buffalo Wild Wings, does it seem different? Does it seem like there's, I don't know, like everyone's more distant? Like, I don't know. I don't know how to fucking say it. Does it seem like everything changed after 2020? Like it was a sudden change. And that's the point, though. Like, say trick-or-treating. I don't give a shit about what the holiday's about. The point is, it's a thing that families do together. If there are a lot of very, like, any happy family out there is going to do things as a family. They're going to take their kids trick-or-treating. Any prosperous society that is growing and actually succeeding is going to have an abundance of people having new children every year. There will never be a shortage of people to take their little kids out trick-or-treating. Yes, because I know a lot of people, once they're teenagers, really don't want to trick-or-treat anymore. But even then, a lot of those people go trick-or-treating with friends. They have social networks. You have people going trick-or-treating. If anything, the point is, I don't really give a shit about the holiday itself. The point is, it's a fun thing for families to do together. That if there is a happy family, they're going to do that stuff. And that if you're not seeing a ton of people outside trick-or-treating, it means there's less families. And there's definitely less happy families. And it seems like that's the norm nowadays. Like, and I know later on, the next part of the comment, I'll be, wow, that's just not loading at all. I'll have to like refresh the page or something. Here, this is, everyone's like, it's so fucking much, Lunar. Oh, wrong button. It was 2 buttons and you picked the wrong one. How did you miss? But the point being is this. In a healthy, any society where it's growing and prospering, any good society, any society with a future, any society that is healthy, that isn't fucked up, you're going to have people, you're going to have lots and lots of families, and they're going to be happy, and they're going to love each other, and those families are going to stay together, and everyone's going to love each other, and they're going to go take the kids trick-or-treating. A happy family goes trick-or-treating, and it's not about, caring about some sort of religious significance or about what the holiday is about. It's about wanting to spend time with your family. And yes, I understand holidays like Christmas and Easter, have religious significance. And I've heard both sides of it. There's some religious people saying, it's a pagan holiday, you shouldn't celebrate it all. And other people, like, it's about Christ. It needs to be entirely about Christ. But for me, it was just about, like, don't get me wrong, I'm Christian, I believe in God, but the holidays I just see as a time to... And then again, every day I saw as special as far as for family. But it's just, I just saw the main significance of a holiday is to create happy memories, to take your kids trick-or-treating, for them to have fun. They went out and they have mom, they have dad. I wanted to be able to give my son a happy, normal childhood. And in a society that's healthy, it's going to have lots of happy families. If all of a sudden a society isn't having a bunch of families, then that society is dying. It doesn't have long to live. It's not an issue of, we lose some money or how society or population collapse, which I know I talk about briefly in a bit. It's more so this. A society cannot survive that. If a society has a lack of families, it cannot survive. Then again, I'm a selfish bastard. I really don't give a fuck about the rest of society. I care about me and my own feelings, okay? I'm an asshole. So the point is, I'm upset about my own personal things that make me sad. But here's the good thing about sharing it. I think a lot of people out there actually agree with me. Whether it's, they also went through like a divorce or something, or maybe you're the kids in question who saw your parents go through a divorce. I guess the question is, did you go trick-or-treating this year? Did you know someone went trick-or-treating? Did you pass out candy? Did you do so in the past? And if you did go through like a divorce, or your parents went through a divorce, what effect did that have? Whether it's on your day-to-day life or just how you feel emotionally. Because whether you're the parent or the child in this situation, it's not a healthy thing for an individual. And this is another thing. If you have a society where there are no happy families, then not only is there no families, but also on the individual level. Because here's the thing. What reason do people have to care about the society they're in if they don't have a family? If they don't have anyone to love? If they're not able to, if everything they work for is just taken from them? If they either can't have a child at all, or they have a child and then that they can't have that child live with them and they're not able to raise that child. Heck, most people, it's the fact that you can't get ahead no matter how much you work and whatever job you work that doesn't really count if it's a career, but at least pays the rent. I mean, how many people out there didn't exactly, fall into the career path that you were expecting, or when you were younger? Heck, I know there are a lot of people out there went got degrees and didn't get the job that they got the degree for. Or there's people out there that just, I know I talk about that stuff, but I'm just saying this. What's to say about people on an individual level? I think I'll mention later on the Blade Runner fucking movie, but the idea is that people are so fucking isolated. Yeah, some people do replace a bit of that stuff with, whether it's AI, artificial intelligence, internet. Heck, some people even use a bit of pornography. At that point, it's this. It's not that they're alone because of pornography. It's that it's just something as far as okay, well, there's no actual people, so this is all there is to choose from. And even then, it's either a lot of people can't get relationships, or they're in situations where they realize that if they get into a relationship, there is so much to lose, and there are so many risks. So, one, even the rewards that you want, it's so hard and unattainable. I mean, heck, I know a lot of people out there feel like they're invisible, or that they can't even get a date. And even then, they see a lot of bad things that happen, and from their point of view, it's whether they've experienced it themselves or seen other people go through it, they just realize that, one, not only is it a losing game where they feel like there's a 0% chance of even succeeding to begin with, but they feel that even if they pull off a miracle and succeed somehow, that they'll still lose everything. That they'll still suffer a lot. And of course, some people more than others, and like I said, I'm grateful that things worked out as well as they did for me. But at the same time, it's still fucked up. And I'm still pissed off. And it's already been a long enough video as is. I mean, and like I said, initially it was just supposed to be, hey guys, what's your thoughts about trick-or-treating? About how it's changed, about how society's changed, especially since the pandemic. I mean, and another thing is this. Also, trick-or-treating is teenagers and young adults. If people have friends, social networks, so they go trick-or-treating, they go to parties. The fact that people aren't doing that means this. It means both younger people as well as young adults. Heck, I'd say anyone under the age of fucking 40. Heck, even if you're over the age of 40, feel free to share if you relate to this experience that you feel like you don't really have any friends anymore, that all your friends are gone. You might be able to text them from time to time, but for the most part, they all moved away, they're busy with their own lives. But even then, especially with younger people, many of them may have never had friends or even close friends at all. I mean, what's to say about society if most people can't even get a family? And their expectation is that the default norm of our society is that even if you get a family, expect it's going to get broken up at some point. That at some point, your partner's just going to divorce you or be abusive or cheat on you or all of the above. And that at any time, no matter what you do or say, nothing will ever be good enough. And that you're going to have your children taken away from you. And then you're also in a situation where you're like, you don't know what's going to happen to your kids, and you feel completely fucking powerless because you want to protect them. You love them. They're the most precious part of your whole fucking life. Like I said, the day my son was born was the happiest fucking day of my life. But then you're in a situation where you feel completely fucking powerless. You want to be able to protect them, and you feel like you can't do anything. And all you can just do is damage control to try to mitigate how much harm happens. And even then, you're like, well, what caused the bad thing to happen? The person you trusted betrays you. And it's like, and then you have to like protect your child from like the one person you thought would actually be of help to you. And it's just like, you don't know what the fuck to do. And even then, a lot of times, then you don't get help from society, you get kicked around by it. And even then, you don't get no fucking sympathy. Not that I'm asking for sympathy on this. I'm just saying that's an experience. And I'm saying that probably a lot of people listen to this, if, anybody listens to this, if you relate to this, then you probably relate to that lack of feeling of any sympathy in society, to where society basically constantly tells you that you're everything that's wrong with society, that you're bad, this is wrong with you, that's wrong with you, and that in a situation where you basically get hurt, that it seems like there's no fucking empathy, that you're not fucking cared about by society, that it's just that. And here's the thing, again, even in this, I'm not asking for any fucking sympathy. I don't want any fucking pity from anybody. What I am saying is this. Are there others of you that feel this way? That feel that society itself doesn't pity you or have any empathy? That you feel that you've gone through some things like this yourself, and you feel like society doesn't give a fuck about you. You feel like society doesn't care about you, and you feel like society even blames you, even considers you as someone to be talked down to or some shit. And again, do I really give a fuck about what society thinks? Not really, no. But it is a bit daunting to just see how society just does not give a shit about people that go through things, that feel like the end of their fucking world. That all of a sudden the person you trusted has betrayed you. Granted, they may have turned out to be a bit of a psychotic, abusive piece of crap before that, but then again, you didn't expect that marrying the person. In fact, your reason for marrying the person is you loved this person, you trusted this person, you felt safe with this person, and then everything you thought, well, turned out to be very, very much not really reality, and more so just maybe you were just overly hopeful or overly naive. But does anyone else out there relate to this? Does anyone else feel the same way? Does anyone else feel that they've gone through similar things? Or like have friends or brothers or someone you know? And you see how society blames them. Heck, it kind of reminds me there was a convention somewhere out there where there was a men's health awareness fucking like conference or something about helping people with. There was stuff about. It was about men's health and like suicide prevention and stuff like that. Basically, it was about a bunch of people, and most of the people there were either people that were either affected by depression themselves, having very negative self-thoughts, or about a lot of people who had had friends, brothers, fathers, sons, heck, even some people of every walk of life. But the main point is this: there was people there that were either very affected by the subject themselves, or were there because they had lost a loved one, because they had had a brother, because they had had a close friend who was basically chose to control alt delete themselves. And they go there to this place for some fucking closure or to get help. And instead, the place gets protested. People are saying that it's, oh, this is about the patriarchy and these people are being hateful to women and stuff. And again, I'll say this: I don't hate women in any regard. And I have not been mean to a single woman. You know, anytime I've yelled at anyone, it's been something really bad. Like, okay, you're cheating or something. She's like, yeah. But in general, in society, like when it comes to just interacting out there normal with other people, I'm nice to everybody. I don't hate anyone. Unless you're an asshole to me, unless you're hurting innocent people, unless you're a bad person that's doing terrible things to people. I don't, and even then, usually I don't give a fuck unless it's involving me in some way. I'm a very to myself kind of person. I really don't like getting involved in other people's shit. And a lot of times if someone's arguing about something, fuck, I don't care. I'm not going to argue with you. It's not worth it to me. What am I fucking going to gain? Am I going to get like a free pizza out of it or some shit? Yes, I'm still fucking fat. I'm 5 foot 11 inches and I am 210 pounds. One day I'll stop being fucking fat and actually have a fucking six pack. Until then, who knows? But one day I'll get in shape. Trying. Failing a lot, but still trying. Everyone's like, you've said so many times you go to the gym and do stuff. I'm like, yeah, I've been trying. It's just, I'm not having much success. Or any, but still, okay, off topic. Main point is this: I don't hate anybody. Heck, I don't even hate my ex-wife. I just don't want anything to fucking do with her. Just don't want to ever see or talk to her ever again. But it's just, in general, how can I not notice the disparity in society? How can I not notice just at every turn men being blamed for everything and told they're horrible? Or that there's a lot of other men out there who are actually very much alone themselves, whether they've just not been able to date at all, or there's men out there who have been through divorces. And I'll say this: there are many men out there, both husbands and fathers, who have been through 1,000 times worse than me. And granted, most of those people tend to Minecraft themselves. But there's plenty that have not and have still been through much worse than me. And it's fucking awful that they've gone through that. And heck, you might be such a person listening to this. The point is, I'm still fucking pissed. I'm still sad. I'm still heartbroken. I'm still fucking frustrated and confused and upset about the whole fucking thing. But I don't hate anybody. And I never fucking hurt anybody. But I'm certainly going to call out bullshit that there's people fucking protesting a men's health awareness conference that's trying to help people who are either contemplating suicide or are friends and relatives of people that have killed themselves, who are there to get help or to just get understanding, to have some either sense of closure or a feeling of how to prevent terrible tragedies from happening, that are just people just asking for help, people just trying to be healthy, people just trying to make good out of their lives, to make the best out of every situation. And these people are being like denounced as if like, oh, you're all a bunch of misogynists and you must all hate women. It's the patriarchy and this is oppression of women. It's like, it's not oppressing anyone. It's literally just people asking for help for fucking depression and to not kill themselves. It's literally just people trying to take care of themselves. There's nothing hateful about it. It's just people trying to help each other. It's just people. Heck, I've made a video in the past where like it was about the Angry Guy channel or something like that. And the thing is this: a bunch of these, whether it's red pill or whatever people. Here's the thing. At least the ones I listen to, they don't advocate for any sort of fucking violence. They're just stating the facts of what's going on out there. Trying to be helpful to people that feel very much discouraged. They're not advocating anyone to be violent. They're just telling people they're not alone. And that everything will be okay. And yeah, in many cases, to keep trying, or how to personally improve your life, but to also to not base your happiness off of what society thinks of you, and to just live your life and do what's best for you. But none of them advocate any violence. But they do speak out about inequality, about misandry, about a culture that seems to demonize and punish men. And yes, I understand there's plenty of women out there who have had their heart broken or went through a bad divorce and who may be alienated from their children. And to you I say, that's awful and that's horrible. And I'm sorry you're hurt as well. But I'm speaking from a men's experience because that's what I'm most familiar with, and that's what I understand most. Then again, do I really even understand myself? I don't know. Then again, I've typed out all these fucking community posts, so I guess maybe I do. Then again, what is the understanding of myself? I'm just a loser otaku weeb who's got some stuff on his mind, and I deal with it by annoying all of you. But it's just calling out the bullshit of what the fuck is wrong with people protesting a men's mental health awareness thing, protesting a conference about suicide, whether it be the victims of it or those left behind because of it. Those who are dealing with some serious stuff themselves, or those who have lost people that meant a whole lot to them. People that are just going out there seeking help. People that are just trying to be happy, trying to be healthy, trying to be good people, trying to be functioning members of society. They're literally not hurting anyone. And yet, it's like, oh, you disagree with them. It's not, heck, at that point, it's not even disagreeing with them. It's just literally, it's like, it's at no point of it is like hating on women or being mean to women in any way. It's just a group of people saying, hey, there's a bunch of men who are going through a bunch of stuff. Maybe we should try to help them. And then it's not an attack on women. It's just trying to help men who are in need of help. And yet even giving assistance to people that need help, that's seen as an attack? That's seen as somehow evil and hateful and bigoted? People just trying to be okay, trying to be better, trying to get through things, trying to grieve, trying to learn, trying to understand. People that go to these conferences and all that shit. Granted, I've never been to anything like any of those, but it's just, it just seems like a lot of the people in that situation who do protest that stuff, they're just very hateful people themselves. Because I'll say this. Whether it's people that have bad luck in dating, whether it's people that have been through bad divorces, heck, whether it's just people that are straight up incels, they're not hateful. Yes, you've seen a couple clips in some TV shows where someone's yelling these crazy misogynistic things where, yeah, I see it in the show and the person's definitely being misogynistic. And yes, there certainly are a few people out there like that. I know plenty of them probably are on Reddit. But I'll tell you this, 99.99% of those people, they're not hateful at all and they don't hate anyone. They just tend to be very sad, lonely people who feel rejected and not wanted by society. And so they just sort of disengage and just go off and do their own thing. They don't hate anyone. But they do recognize people out there who hate them. People that accuse them of all manner of horrible things and call them sexist, or say that they're spreading some sort of hate speech or something. When most of them are actually just very quiet individuals. And of course there's a few of them who tend to take to YouTube, though I don't think I count as part of that group. Because a lot of them tend to have certain philosophies and certain ways of looking at life in terms of how they want to be about things, and I don't think I qualify. I don't think I'm part of that group. But I can definitely relate. I can understand feeling like nobody fucking cares. I can understand feeling like you can't succeed, that I'm never going to own a home, that if I suddenly lose my job, will I even be able to pay rent? I'll pretty much be homeless. Heck, I went a little bit of time without a job, didn't get a single fucking cent of unemployment or government assistance, still paid my child support at full amount. Didn't get any help from fucking anybody. Didn't ask either. But I didn't get any money from unemployment or anything like that. I just had a bunch of savings from all the overtime at work, plus I really don't spend money on anything. Unless it's to get like gifts for my son, to buy video games, or Steam cards for Let's Play channel. Aside from that, occasionally I'll buy a video game. But that's pretty much it. I'll sometimes get like some fast food or something. I actually get more fast food that's probably healthy. Probably part of the reason you're fat. But I'm just saying, most of the people who don't have anyone, whether they simply have bad luck with it or they've never had anyone at all, or they're someone who is a divorced husband or father, These people don't hate anybody. And if they do, it's probably just a few select people that have personally wronged them. But in general, these people are not hateful. They're not violent. They're just sad, lonely, withdrawn people who would never hurt anybody. Yes, there's exceptions to the rule. There are some people out there that really are crazy, violent bastards. And to anyone that would go out there and hurt anyone, I strongly condemn that. At the same time, I need to reemphasize, most people in any of these groups or listening to these groups are not. They're not violent people. At most, they would only ever be violent in self-defense. These are people who are non-aggressive and people who would never hurt anybody unless it was to defend themselves or to defend somebody else. These are people who might be apathetic. They might be overly withdrawn to their own little world. They might be too obsessed with certain hobbies, whether it be a video game or a guitar or something. But they're not violent. They're not dangerous. They're just people that have a lack of friends or anyone who fucking cares about them. And sometimes they post comments and talk to each other on the internet, sharing each other's experiences. And I said, yeah, there are exceptions to the rule. But I need you to know that is the exception. Anyone being violent. In general, most people, whether it's your average person who's just struggling to date, whether it's a person who's a complete incel who can't get any relationship at all, whether it's a divorced father or husband, these people aren't violent. These people don't hate anyone. They will angrily call out corruption and bigotry against men, against society, problems with the family court, problems with divorce and child custody, problems with how marriages work out, problems with how men tend to get treated in relationships, or even treated in society, or even treated when trying to date. How men wind up, like say the whole loneliness epidemic where men are not able to get a girlfriend or anything like that. And these guys, rather than getting understanding or people actually caring, they get mocked, they get ridiculed, they get blamed for it. And they get told, well, you just aren't good enough. You need to do this and this and this. And many times, you're being told that your value only amounts to these things. And even then, a lot of times, a lot of these people aren't really lacking in these things to begin with. And heck, a lot of the most successful people either are straight up fucking players, or they're withdrawn socially as well as romantically from people. Though I think in general, since the whole COVID pandemic, a lot of people have become much more withdrawn in general, like across the board. But in general, I mean, like, here's the thing, it's not a healthy society. Think about it. What kind of healthy society seems to demonize having children? In a healthy society, shouldn't everyone's goal be to have a family? And I can understand, even there might be some outliers. You know, it's understandable there might be somebody that doesn't want to have a family. Everyone's got their own path. But what's it say if there's basically a fucking epidemic of people who don't want kids, or people that seem to hate children entirely. A good society, a healthy society, has to have a lot of families. Any society that isn't having a bunch of families, that society will collapse. And it's not even about the whole economic facet of it. It's that, what's it mean about a society? A lot of people tend to care about society because they have a family. They have something to fight for. And again, I'm not saying people in this situation would become violent over not having what they want in life. It's more so they'll just stop caring. They'll just stop engaging with everything. These people won't be violent. They'll just stop caring. They'll just... Granted that, I guess you could call it a symptom of depression, but how could you not be depressed when you find out that everything you wanted in life, you can't have, or even if you do have it, it'll be taken from you? And yes, we can still be grateful and happy that we have some modern technological conveniences. That's really nice. It's cool that I have anime and air conditioning. I'm very grateful for that. But at the same time, as much as I enjoy an nice ice cold Pepsi, that doesn't exactly fill a hole in your heart. But you can still appreciate how delicious the Pepsi is, or how cool video games are, but it's just, I am grateful for modern technology and stuff. But it doesn't change the fact that there are a lot of people out there that do actually want families and they just can't have them. Or many people do get families and they actually, they didn't just walk out the door one day to go to the gas station and get a pack of cigarettes and not come back. They didn't just say, hey, I'm going to the grocery store to get a gallon of milk. I'm going to go get a jug of milk. And then they never fucking come back. These aren't people that just walked out and abandoned their families or left. These are people who their families are just gone. And like I said, there's many people that went through much, much worse than me. But the fact of the matter is this. What the fuck does it say about society that this is the norm? That this is what's happening across the board? That most marriages end in divorce at this point. Well over half at least. And depending on certain demographics, it's far greater. At the rate we're going, we might as well say all marriages at this point. And yes, I'm sure there's a few good, happy marriages out there. And if there are, that's awesome. That's good for you. I'm happy for you. But it's just a single family being broken is a tragedy. But having it to where it's at least 70% of the fucking population, that is apocalyptic. And also, what does that say about future generations? Here's the thing. Think about it. You have kids that are broken, you have kids that grow up in broken homes. They didn't get to have a normal childhood. That's going to be a wound in their heart for the rest of their life. And then, how are they going to be as adults after having suffered such a wound? And how will it go when they try to raise their family? Will they even be able to have a family themselves? What will society even be like 20 years from now after having a 70% of everybody coming from a broken home where they lose their families, they lose their parents, where they witness firsthand the pain and grief that comes from trusting and marrying somebody. And again, if you could have a happy marriage and a partner who won't cheat on you or divorce you or anything or be abusive or psychotic and actually love and appreciate you, that's awesome. That's great. That's wonderful. But most people can't even. I mean, what is it? More than half of men have just given up on dating entirely now. And yeah, they're like, oh, there's some men out there have a lot of choices, but those. So I mean, at this point, you're only groups of men. You have the men who are in marriages, who probably will get divorced themselves eventually, and they won't have any say in the matter, and it won't be because anything they said or did. It's just that it'll just happen one day that the person just feels bored or decides they want somebody else. And again, yeah, there are some men who fuck up relationships too, and that's wrong, and that's fucked up. And you know, men certainly shouldn't be cheating on women. Like, I agree with that. No one should be cheating on anyone. Heck, regardless of gender or sexual orientation, no one should be cheating on or domestically abusing anybody. But it's just... people, at their core, at least in my experience and my own feelings, I'm sure there's people out there that don't feel the way I do. But I would think that the vast majority of people, at least from my own personal feelings and from what I've seen of other people talking about theirs, that most people want someone they can trust. Most people want companionship. Most people want someone they actually love, someone who cares about them and respects them, someone who would never ever hurt them in under any situation, whether that be physical or emotional hurt. Someone they could feel safe with. Someone who they feel would never abandon them, never betray them, who wouldn't lie to them. People either feel invisible or unwanted by society, or they feel hated and betrayed. Heck, I'm sure there's people out there in marriages right now who feel alone in their marriage. And don't be wrong, I'm still grateful I got married when I did. And I did make some happy memories. And I married her because I loved her. I don't anymore. But I'll tell you this. Bad, unhealthy, abusive relationships are not going to be that way all the time. And while there might be physical abuse situations, in most abusive relationships, 90% of the abuse taking place is all psychological. Granted, there's still the 10% physical. But there's people out there who will not acknowledge that they're in an abusive relationship because things aren't bad all the time. And then, of course, it's also like the frog in the boiling water thing. It just starts with one or two things at first, and then it gets worse and worse and worse, and it just keeps gradually getting worse. And of course, at that point, and of course, it doesn't help if you already have very low self-esteem going into said marriage. So, and have history of, well, being bullied in school and other issues. And in many situations, there are many, especially this is very true of men, who are much physically stronger than their wife, but they would never lay a hand on her to hurt her. And there's many relationships or even just boyfriends and girlfriends where and again, no one should be hurting anyone. Like, I certainly still have the mindset that, hey, men shouldn't be hitting women, but women shouldn't be hitting men either. No one should be hitting their partner. Whether you're gay guys, gay women, transgender, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender, sexual orientation, or anything you are. No one should be cheating on their partner. No one should be abusing their partner. But in general, I've just lost faith in the way the society is. Lost faith that there is any hope for really families to work out, and that's awful. And like I said, a society needs families to work out in order for society to survive. It just seems like everyone's so hateful to each other. Everyone's lacking any sort of natural affection. Like, you see a lot of families, they're not really families anymore. And I don't mean just the broken family thing. Is that I see a lot of people, especially in public, I'll see them walking, and they seem like they fucking hate each other. Whether it's, I'll see other parents with their kids, I'll see boyfriends and girlfriends, husbands and wives, I'll see brothers and sisters and other and it's just when I see people talking to each other, I don't know, maybe I'm only seeing the negative in people, but it's just, then again, I know for a while, heck, it still bothers me to a bit. I know one time I was at a Walmart a couple weeks back, and there was his father, and he has 2 sons, and they just kept saying, and they were being very polite too. Their dad did a good job raising them. They're like, but they kept, talking to their dad and going, "Daddy," or "Dad," and then saying the rest of the sentence. And I didn't say anything, interact, and I thought that was good for them, but it made me think about my son. Then again, I know, especially after the divorce, initially I'd go to a restaurant and I'd hear a baby crying. Or I'd see people at a store pushing their baby in a little car seat, and I'd be thinking about my son. And I'd feel very sad about that. Regardless, don't get me wrong, I'd feel very happy for them. But it's just, I would think very strongly about, and again, I'm happy my son's doing okay. But I wanted to raise him. I wanted to have a normal family. And yes, to a large degree for his sake, but also because I was emotionally set on it. I really wanted to be the best dad I could be. I wanted to give him a normal and happy and healthy childhood. Yes, largely for his sake, but also largely because it meant a lot to me. To wake up and know my son is in the next room. To see him come home from school. Ask him how his day at school was. Maybe help him with his homework. Maybe, go jogging with him. Take him to the gym. We can lift some weights together. Teach him how to play something on the guitar, like a cool riff from System of a Down. Watch some anime with him, like Dragon Ball Z. One, yes, I very strongly wanted to be a good father to him for his sake. But also I very strongly wanted to be a good father to him because I really strongly wanted to be a good father. And yes, every hug I gave him was largely for his benefit because I wanted him to make sure that he knew that he was loved and cared about, but also because every hug meant a lot to me. I remember holding him the day he was born, and I was so fucking happy. And I wanted to do whatever I could to protect him, to keep him safe, to give him the best possible future I could. And I was never rich. We were poor, I understand to a degree. I mean, granted, it's subjective, America, poor is subjective. It's not like we're a fucking third world country starving to death or some shit. But, we were never rich. We're always living in apartments. And sometimes money was a bit tight. But I tried to make sure he had everything he needed. I prioritized my family above all else. I genuinely missed my family. I missed my wife. I missed my son. Every day I went to work. And when I'd be at work, I'd be thinking about, I want to get home to my wife. I want to get home to my son. I miss my family. Even though I'd only seen them a few hours earlier. And then, of course, as time went on, my wife turned out to be a fucking psycho bitch. And lazy as fuck. I was not only the only person working to make any money at any point during a relationship, but I wound up being the primary caregiver too. And then eventually wound up being an issue of every day I'd come home knowing that all that waited for me was a psychotic bitch who every day would tell me how much she fucking hated me. And my precious son, who literally had to live through hell being with his mother while I was at work. But I had to go to work. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to pay the rent. And granted, sometimes I could take him over to my parents or her parents so they could watch him while I was at work. But you can't do that all the time. And I legitimately thought I could fix things. I thought I could make things better. I thought things would get better. It's funny, when she was pregnant, even when she gave birth, I thought she was going to be a good mom. I thought she was going to be a good wife. I thought she was somebody I could trust. I thought she was someone I could be safe around. I thought she was somebody who actually cared about me. And I was wrong about everything. I'm still grateful I was able to marry her, though. It was nice having a wife for a while. And I'm glad I didn't know how things were going to turn out. Because here's the thing, I believe strongly in God. And God is a God of truth. And people could say, well, how can you say any connection to God at all if God didn't reveal that truth to you of the future? And the answer is this. If I had known what was going to happen, I would have never married her at all. And that would have been most regrettable, because then I would have never had my son. And like I said, I still had some happy memories. I was very happy on the day of my wedding and had a lot of hope for the future. When I married my wife, I legitimately loved her. And I didn't stop loving her due to anything like boredom or because of anything petty on my side. She was psychotic and abusive, and she mistreated me and our child. She committed adultery and she divorced and betrayed me. She even tried to kill me a few times in my sleep. I also have a 3-inch scar on my right arm, which I remember my last Christmas being married to her by. Our son was 2.5 years old. He was playing with his presents, and she felt annoyed by this. So she started screaming and yelling and cussing, picking up his toys, breaking them with her hands, slamming them into the wall, kicking some of his toys hard enough to break them. But yeah, just picking up his toys and throwing them into the wall. Obviously, a 2-year-old seeing his mother do that would be sad. And he starts crying a bit about that and walking toward her, and, well, she felt even more annoyed by that. I stepped in between and told her to please stop. And then she attacked me. She stopped when she noticed my arm was bleeding. Looking back at other things, I think there were certain other red flags that I may have missed. Not just in terms of her mental health, as well as her being a bit psychotic and violent. But given certain other situations that occurred, I think she has some form of schizophrenia. Granted, I talk to myself, but that's more so a coping mechanism for isolation. Whereas her, I pity whoever she gets with in the future. But that being said, I'm still grateful and happy that I did marry her. I did have some happy memories, and I did actually love and respect her. And like I said, there were good times. Even in abusive relationships, there are still good things that happens. That's the thing I was saying, some people lie to themselves, won't admit that a relationship is abusive. Not only will some people actually look past physical altercations, but a lot of times, whether it's just fights or arguments or stuff, and here's the, don't get me wrong, it's normal sometimes for fights to happen in relationships. That's fine. But I'll say this, if there's no fights or arguments in a relationship, there is nothing wrong with that. I know some people say it means there's something wrong. No. There's nothing wrong with a relationship if no one's fighting or arguing. It's fine for people to get along. But it's also fine for a relationship to have occasional fights and disagreements. That's normal. But what's not normal is when the fights and arguments are all the time. Or when they go to an extreme. When people say certain things that cross the line, that go way too far. But in general, there's a lot of, like I said, 90% of abuse in relationships is psychological, is emotional, is verbal, and in many situations, it's forms of manipulation, and it can be very subtle. Especially emotional abuse, in many situations, can be much more subtle than physical. Not only would it not leave any bruises or marks, but in many situations, it can be done very subtly to where you tend to just not pay any attention to it. You tend to write it off as something else. And then, of course, if it gradually increases, you just sort of accept it as normal. Especially if you have a life experience of being treated in such ways in the past. If people have been not so nice to you in other situations. or if you have low self-esteem or tend to already be a bit depressed to begin with. Or wound up just caring a lot about that person and being in a situation where you really don't have anyone else. So all of a sudden when that person just withdraws all of their positivity and becomes something you thought you'd never see, you tend to be dumbfounded, you tend to be confused, you're awestruck, you don't know how to react or what to do. And when you do, a lot of times, it's just... And of course, in many situations, modern culture tends to demonize the victims for even first speaking up about how they even feel or trying to be assertive themselves. Point being is this. I don't hate anybody. But I certainly don't see it likely for me to ever trust anybody again. Don't get me wrong, as much as I bitch about being lonely and stuff, I would be hesitant to actually date anyone if I did meet anybody nice. Though I've decided I'm bisexual now. I decided like a few years ago. So, a couple of years or so after the divorce. But still haven't actually dated anybody. Multiple reasons. Partly concerns about how my dad would react, but also I just feel very uncomfortable about talking to anyone, which I know it's very contradictory, it's very paradoxical, it's stupid of me. That's the right word, stupid. For me to complain that, oh, I'm lonely, I don't remember what a fucking hug feels like, and I just want someone to care about me and, to have a close personal relationship with someone I feel safe with, who respects me, and who would never ever hurt me. But at the same time, I feel very negative, antisocial feelings about interacting with anyone. So that even if, say, I met someone really nice, whether it's a guy or a girl, whether it's a woman or a man, or say I meet real life fucking Astolfo or some shit. Yes, I had to make a fucking Astolfo joke. It's like, pray I don't use any more memes. I already started this thing off of a meme of Donald Trump working at McDonald's with the fucking Japanese McDonald's family. The point being is this. What's it fucking say about the future of our society if nobody's really having families anymore? And if all the people that are having families are all getting divorced? What's that say about the kids that grow up in that society? Heck, what kind of society is there going to be when my son gets older? Is he going to be able to have a family? How much fucking psychological damage is he going to have from what happened with the divorce, let alone the way his mother was toward him? And keep in mind, I went into detail about that shit in other community posts. Granted, of course, there's still more, but honestly, there's only so much I can fucking type. And even then, I'm sure you guys are sick and fucking tired of listening. Not that anyone's listening to this to begin with. But like I said, if anyone is, do you relate to this at all? Does anyone else out there, like, did your parents get divorced? Did you go through a divorce? Are you someone who can't even get a date? And also, what's your thoughts on the whole trick-or-treat thing? Because the point is this: if a family's happy, they'll take the kids trick-or-treating, or at least they're trying to make the kids happy. Obviously, I had some issues with my wife, but I still wanted to. I still wanted to have the happy family situation with the trick-or-treat. My son still did have a blast, and I still had a lot of fun going there. And here's the thing. I wanted my wife to be happy. And I was trying to be all cheerful and happy for her sake, too. Don't get me wrong, I was happy and cheerful and our son was having fun. But I wanted her to be happy, too, and I was trying to be supportive. And like I said, even after the other things started happening, I thought I could help her. Which is stupid of my part. And in some points I felt I deserved it. Which again, stupid on my part. And then of course, once the divorce and stuff started occurring and from the adultery and stuff, my options were just damage control. To just try to get the divorce as smoothly as possible so I could try to keep as much custody of my son as I could. So I could make sure my son's in a safe place. So I could make sure I could do what was best for my son. And then it became very clear that the only way he was going to stay alive was if I could protect him from his mother. And there was only one way to do that. And given other things that happened since then, with her, I was proven right. But that being said, I don't hate her in any way. Heck, if somehow anyone listening to this were to ever meet my ex-wife, I wouldn't want you to say a single bad thing to her. I wouldn't want you to do a single bad thing to her. I just would want you to just see her, turn around, and walk the other way. Because I don't want to see her talk to her ever again. And I wouldn't wish that on any of you. Because like I said, I wouldn't want anyone out there to try to hurt her or say anything mean to her. Just not have anything to do with her. The point of me talking about it is that it bothers me. That I feel hurt by things that have occurred, which you think I should just be fucking over by now. Like I shouldn't be sad about things that happened years ago. But still, being lied to, being betrayed, coming home to find your son has been mistreated and neglected. To have your wife walk out the door with another man, with your son in her arms, taking your son away. You think that shit would, Like it, people would say, just fucking grow up, get over it. You should stop caring about that shit. But I don't think that's possible for me. Like I said, I'm not hateful or vengeful to anyone. I just feel that just talking about it would make me feel better. And maybe some of you out there listening to this relate to this. Now, granted, I know. That's narcissistic as fuck of me to think me talking about that stuff could be of any help or any importance to anybody else. But you'll have to forgive that arrogance of me. But it's just, I thought that there'd be people out there. Because like I said, I've seen a lot of stories of people who do talk about that stuff too. So I know there's at least people out there who have gone through similar things. I don't know what benefit it is for whoever you are, for whatever it is you went through, to be sitting there listening to me ramble about my own personal experiences. And of course, like I said, I have typed so much fucking shit in my community posts. I have made like 1,000 community posts. I've lost track. A lot of it's just been like, hey, look, I found this cool video of Hatsune Mikune drinking orange juice at a bar. It's hilarious Vocaloid music, and I think it's great music. Or like the OST for Bible Black, which is technically a hentai. Or Vector Man 2, the video game soundtrack. It's just like, hey guys, I found this cool video. I'm going to share it. I don't know. I'm treating you guys like you're here next to me, and I'm like, hey, I found this cool video on YouTube, and I'm like, here, watch this. It's not even me making a video of it, then commenting on it. It's just me like saying, hey, look, I found a cool cat video. Hey, I found a cool song by Infected Mushroom. Or Ghost Data. Or look at this really awesome video of Iron Mouse reacting to the, what's the guy's name? With the alcohol. The tipsy bartender. It's just, I don't know, I enjoy those videos and I want to share them because I'm like, hey, I enjoy it. Maybe other people enjoy it. At this point, I'm just being a very awkward fan to people like Iron Mouse and Shy Lily. It's like, hey, especially the amount of sexual jokes I've made about Zentrea. When I say that in person, obviously I'm not a rude fucking asshole. And of course, I know how to be sociable and talk to people. Like, honestly, if I was just sitting down like, hey, Zentrea, how's it going? Yeah, I do like the Slipknot shirt. What's your favorite Slipknot band? Have you ever listened to any Slipknot instrumentals or seen them in concert? Because that's a question. Like, yeah, have you ever actually seen them in concert? Like, I've seen System Down in concert back in like 2004, I think. It was either 2004 or 2005. I went to like this, it was actually two venues. There's the first venue, you had Boba Flex, Smile Up Your Soul, Noise Auction, a couple of their bands. I think Hella and Mars Volta were there. And then there was this other venue. It had two bands that were played pretty big sets, but I can't remember what they were called. And then there was like an hour and a half of fucking Surge talking. Oh yeah. I think, like, I had listened to, like, mainly Toxicity at that point, and some of the, I don't think Mesmerize and Hypnotize had come out yet. And, of course, we didn't really have much internet back then. Like me, I don't even know if I had an internet at that point. I think it was a couple years after I watched the Stone concert I even had internet, and even that it was dial-up, so you'd have, like, the fax machine noises. And so and even then, there wasn't really a lot of stuff on the internet back then. So you couldn't exactly, listen to music if you couldn't find it. And yes, I understand System Now did the steal this album thing because people were ripping the fucking album. And yeah, I probably would have done it if I could, but I couldn't. I knew people had shit like LimeWire. But here's the thing. I also know most of those guys got viruses on their fucking computers from that shit. But I didn't have the technology for it. Heck, even when it was a few years after that, when I started watching a shit ton of Let's Plays, I wanted to make Let's Plays myself back then. But, I didn't have the technology or the money for it. Heck, I initially was able to buy this laptop, which is like 4.5 years old now. I don't know. I'm in trouble keep checking time with that, but it's as well as the shit ton of money I spent on Steam, honestly. Though all the games I got were always like an 80% off discount, unless it was a game I bought on release like Deathmark 2. But usually I was trying to get games like 80% off, save as much as possible. Plus I have so many games that were just straight up free. That was just like I like literally would just go into the categories and just click on like a genre I wanted, and then just filter by price, and then just spend a couple hours just slowly scrolling through thousands of games that were free to see if there was something that even looked remotely okay, and then I'd add it to a wish list and I'd come back to it later. And then, there's no problem me just downloading it because it's free. It's a free game. And there are a lot of really good games that are free. But even then, a lot of games, like most of the games I got were like 80 or 90% off discount when I got them. At minimum, I usually would wait till a minimum of 50% off. The only times I played full price for a game was if I got a release day. And my computer definitely can't handle the stuff like Resident Evil anymore. I remember Shadow War was a PowerPoint presentation. But when I played Resident Evil 7 and 8, it actually recorded just fine. Heck, Trepang 2, my Trepang Part 1, it's just me running around with a fucking assault rifle, being the most autistic fucking person in the world. And here's the thing, I've never been officially diagnosed as autistic or ADHD, but as I'm more aware of myself, listening to my own fucking videos, or just people IRL having suggested that they think I'm autistic. But then again, I'm not even sure if autism existed as a diagnosis when I was younger. I mean, I'm 37. I don't know if autism existed back then. I mean, obviously, yes, there were people that were autistic. I'm just saying, I don't think it was a recognized thing by, medical professionals. I don't think people acknowledged it. And if it was very minimal. And so, I don't know. I don't see it as there's anything wrong with me. It's just, I'm just a little eccentric. And I can jump off topics quite a bit. And sometimes I can be hyper-focused. So, I don't know. It's not like I'm actually seeing a fucking, even then, I don't even know if, maybe the professional just going to say I have something so they can make some money off me. I don't know. It's not what even if I could become officially diagnosed as, and I did take some of those online, but of course online tests only is so credible. It's online. It's this random fucking thing online. But even then, even if I was officially diagnosed as autistic, okay, what then? what would that accomplish? Okay, you have a diagnosis. It's one. Why would I want to change anything about myself? And two, what the fuck would I do? What, give me some sort of medication? And even then, who's to say me being autistic's a bad thing? Who says that's bad? Well, why is that got to be bad? Heck, even if I am autistic, why would I want to stop? Like, just, like, why would I dislike myself being autistic? Why would that mean there's anything fucking wrong with me? Maybe I'm fine just the way I am, aside from the depression, but still, separate issues. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, obviously at this point I would have, because this started to be a conversation like how I would talk to Zentreya, but like at this point it's like I just go completely off a tangent, and at this point it's like, what happened? Well, she ran away. Like, sad face. Well, off to Dairy Queen. Get some ice cream. Soft serve ice cream, Dairy Queen's nice. It's just a shame they just have chocolate and vanilla. Like, what if they had like dark chocolate soft serve ice cream? Imagine that. Wouldn't that be great? Like, what if you could go to like obviously soft serve ice cream is cool, and of course they have chocolate. That's nice. I usually get the chocolate soft serve, and of course vanilla soft serves. It's okay. I like the M&M McFlurries that have the vanilla ice cream. They're cool. It's cool. I like it. But here's the thing, guys. What if there was a dark chocolate soft serve ice cream? Wouldn't that be delicious? Wouldn't that be great? That'd be fucking delicious. But main point is this. Back to the Zentreya thing. It's this. I know they've played like Mario Party stuff. How about this? Zentreya, Shy Lily, Smug Alana, and Asmongold. I think all four of those guys should play Sonic Shuffle. I just think it would be funny. Sonic Shuffle it's a good game, and it's better than Mario Party. I need to go to bed. This wasn't supposed to be a long video. It was supposed to just be, hey guys, have you noticed there's less trick-or-treaters? Like, if you handed out candy on a porch, did you notice less people come up to your door? If you went, like, did you go trick-or-treating at all? Do you have kids? Do you have parents? Do you have friends? It's bold of you to pursue my friends, says the anonymous person listening to this. But I guess the main point I'm saying is this, guys. Happy families take their kids trick-or-treating. A lack of trick-or-treaters means there's a lack of happy families. What's to say about our society there's less families? That the families that are together are usually broken and unhappy. It's not good for the future, nor is it good for those kids. Nor is it good for the parents. But I'm just saying this. That's a good metric to measure society and whether it's doing good or not. Is this: how many people are trick-or-treating? How many young people have friends? How many happy families are out there? If you have a society filled with happy families, then that's amazing, and that's good, and that's healthy, and that's good, and that's happy. But if you have a shortage of happy families in a society, that society is not long for this world. That's like the society itself has cancer. And the society, if it's that far gone, it's at least stage 3. It's almost terminal. Like, if whatever it is that's fucking causing this cancer to society, that makes it where families are just gone, it's gotta get fixed now. Or else it's going to be past the point of no return, and it's going to be terminal. And it's not like I'd be saying for anyone to be violent in that situation. It's a situation of this. I'm saying just to be prepared for society to fucking collapse, and just be prepared to defend yourself and to defend those that you specifically care about. I don't want anyone out there putting themselves in danger for the common good. You're not a superhero. You're not Superman. You're not Batman. You're a normal flesh and blood person who does not do 400 push-ups a day. Okay? You don't shoot lasers from your eyes. I don't want anyone getting hurt. Just saying, if this keeps going, just be prepared for things to get worse and take care of yourselves. But I'm just saying, this is not good for society as a whole, and it's not good for the people in society, whether it be the people from broken families, whether it be the children that lose their parents, or parents alienated from their children, whether it's the people who can't even get dates, let alone get a wife or have family, the people that are just completely alone and can't even get a partner. What does it say about our society? Okay, I should really end this video, but I'm gonna do the text-to-speech the rest of this. Okay, go click. Click. Is it crashed? Has my computer got bored of listening to me?
In lullabies to him in the womb and tell him I love him.
What
He
the?
lived with me till a few weeks after his 3rd birthday when my divorce was official. Then a week after that there were issues.
Why
with
did
how
it
his
go
mother
back
was
up
doing
there?
towards him. And so he
Shouldn't
then
it?
went into custody of his grandparents on his mother's side. I pay the child support to them. It was necessary for him to live with them since it was the only way to stop his mother from
Damn it.
causing his death. I know he is still alive because he didn't live with her. Read more. Share. 2 comments. Sort by. Add a comment. Pinned by Lunar D8. At Leonard80 690. 26 minutes ago. Moss Morning excited to open his presents or sitting at the table to eat turkey on Thanksgiving while Heck sit at table eat together. At every dinner, I didn't want to just be a part of his life, but rather the core of it, be there for him every day so that he always knows that he is loved and that his father is always there for him. Instead, I am now estranged. Anyway, back the story, though I suppose it would be remiss if I don't mention the vid I did like 3 years ago where I made like a 13.5-hour video where I spent a few good hours just crying and laughing at screaming volumes until the excess stress caused me to start vomiting everywhere and get dizzy and fall over. I deleted that cause it made me feel sad to hear that. But yeah, back to the story, and yet in previous posts I've explained about my marriage and those issues, but you never getting married again. But yeah, back to the story, after the COVID caused a situation where I didn't see my son for a year, I started this channel. After another half a year, I started seeing him in person again. During the time I didn't see him in person, he would be hesitant to even want to go to grocery with his own grandparents. He was scared to go outside, the stuff he heard on TV. On news that his grandparents caused issues. Also, he does the online schooling, so probably doesn't help his socializing. Then again, I hear terrible things about public schools nowadays. Also, I went through a lot of bullying in school, so I am worried he will be too. Then again, I expect he will be quite smart. I have had 132 IQ. I graduated with an honors diploma 4.0 straight A with classes like calculus, physics, chemistry. But then again, I remember none of that stuff, lol. Anyway, once I started seeing him in person, it was just me going over there for an hour or 2 every other month. We still talked on phone and face chatted, but actually seeing each other in the flesh was not as often, and he didn't want to come over and spend the weekends anymore. I decided to be patient with him, and he did even for an hour a year ago. Granted, his grandparents came too, but most of the time, I just would go over there for a couple hours and even take him to the park for an hour. I would also visit around his birthday and Christmas and to bring his presents. But I'd never be invited the day of, usually the week before or week after. But yeah, when I'd go over and spend time with him, he would always be happy about it. And he would be saying to his grandparents, "Can Dad come over again tomorrow? Can Dad come over again next week?" He would sound so excited and happy about having me over more. I thought things were improving. But then a few months ago, things changed, and I haven't been able to even see or hear from him at all. I haven't seen him or heard his voice in months. It bothers me, I miss him, and it feels like I lost my son all over again. That is how I feel. I feel like I lost my family is gone. And yes, I am happy I was able to have a son at all, and I am thankful to God that he is alive and safe and healthy. and I am happy that he's being well taken care of. As a parent, his well-being is what matters most, but my own petty feeling about feeling sad and missing him do weigh on my mind, as well as I am grieving not being able to raise him. I feel like I lost out on being a real father to my child and being there for him every day in his home. Some people talk about how it's good for divorced dad to still be a part and involved in their child's life, but I disagree. A father isn't meant to be a part of a child life, but rather the core of it. A dad is meant to be able to be there for his son every day, to be at the dinner table, to be in the home with their child. If the child wakes up from a nightmare or hears a scary sound at night, he is supposed to know dad is right there in the next room and will always protect him. I'm supposed to be at dang parent-teacher conference dang it all. Heck, back right before the divorce, I was taking him to the local school system, getting him registered to start in public school as soon as possible. Granted, only preschool, but still public school with other kids. I'm worried about his social skills given the pandemic and him just being online schooled at home with his grandparents. Also, I don't really know what is going on anymore. Eve discussed it in previous posts. Heck, maybe I'll make this into a video, but I don't feel like saying it. Maybe Google text-to-speech? His grandparents say he is becoming more withdrawn, that he doesn't even like talking to them anymore. Also, I don't know if they are manipulating him or if something else is going on. I do feel paranoid. Also, am worried about him. I don't know what is causing this. I hope it gets better. I miss my son. I will always love my son and be there for him. But right now it's stuff like this that makes me feel like screw this society, and especially marriage. Why would I get married to just come home a psycho, abusive, adulterous wife who neglects our child and tells me every day how much she hates me? Why? Would I want to get married again just to have another child taken from me? Then again, I don't want any more kids, and I really shouldn't complain. Most divorced dads go through much worse in their divorce. But just because they got more screwed by their divorce than me or cause their parental alienation is worse than mine, or even the much worse unspeakable bad things that happened to those fathers. Just because they had it worse doesn't make me any less sad. I'm still hurt. I still miss my son. But it is something looking at the statistics in modern society, how many marriages end in divorce, how many fathers become alienated from their children and spend every day mourning the happy future they plan to have with their families, knowing it can never exist, that they lost something that can never be replaced, that as a father you have to live for damage control in order to do what is best for your child. And I succeeded. My son and I both survived the divorce, but am still sad and angry. About being betrayed and having my son taken out of my home by his own mother, about not being able to raise him myself. Then again, my physical and mental health have deteriorated in recent years, so it's for the best he doesn't live with me, though that saddens me to admit. And I am happy he is happy where he is and that he is safe and healthy and that his guardians love him and take very good care of him, but I still miss him. I want to talk to him. I want to give him a hug. I want to tell him I love him, and I want him to tell me, I love you too, Dad. I guess the point is my story is not uncommon. Granted, details change from person to person, but how many men have gone through a divorce or seen their parents go through a divorce? How many fathers have been alienated from their children? Or how many of you are children who are alienated from their parents? The point I'm saying is nowadays broken families is the normal. Heck, many people want families and can't even have them to begin with, but many if not most, and heck at rate we are going in America, it's going to be all families and marriages fall apart, divorces, children taken out of their home, children seeing their home torn apart, children losing parents, parents losing kids, alienation. It's the norm. Back to my question. How many people went trick or treating or passed out candy this year? How did it compare to the past? Especially since the pandemic, everyone has become more antisocial, but also families. Families don't exist anymore, it seems. Many people can't get married and even have ability to even get a relationship or even a date. Many people feel invisible or that there is no one out there for them. Many men have just outright given up on dating, and these are men who actually wanted a normal family, a loving wife and children, and would have happily dedicated their lives to their families as the most precious part of their life. Many men out there really did want a family as what they wanted most in this world. They wanted to raise children. They were also, these same men were men who would have never cheated on their wives and didn't care about playing the field or anything like that. They just wanted a woman they thought was pretty who would love and respect them. They wanted a partner. They would have treasured such a partner more than all the gems and gold in the world. But instead, these men stayed alone and received rejection after rejection, and they learned to get used to being alone. They have accepted it, and they see what happens to other men in relationships. And men have a wall they hit, not a physical wall, a psychological wall. This wall is the point where they have had their heart broken too many times, or too severely, been rejected too many times, been alone too long, seen too many family MEM. Show less.
Reply.
One reply, at Lunar 80 690. 26 minutes ago. Ebers or friends die, been too traumatized, been dumped too many times, been cheated on too many times, or especially men who go through divorce or have their children no longer live with them. They witnessed the destruction of their families, of their hopes and dreams, and they were betrayed by the person they trusted most. And they find out the person they loved isn't who you thought they were when you married them. The person you trusted, whom you loved, you find out they never loved you at all. And they were lying, and they may even be violent and psychotic. Your trust is broken. You find out that you can't even protect your own children with the laws that exist nowadays, that you have no rights. The system is rigged. You feel helpless and betrayed and abandoned. You lose the ability to trust. You hit that emotional wall where you're hurt too much and you just stop caring about ever getting married again, about ever wanting to be with a woman. Heck, Eve decided I'm bisexual now. Granted, still haven't dated anyone. Remember, I'm antisocial and withdrawn. And my own dad, I'm not sure how negatively he would respond. Maybe I'm just being paranoid, but more importantly, it's that even though I'm lonely, I've gotten used to being alone. And in general, I am weary about being with anyone. So I'm not in any rush to date anybody. Honestly, I'm not sure how to even be about dating anymore. And in not talking about how dating has changed, I'm talking about if I have a relationship, how do I interact with them? Because no matter how much I complain about my lack of relationship nowadays, I'm honestly too anxious about it and don't even want to be around anybody right now. I know contradiction, but I didn't say I made sense. I'm just saying that even if I met someone really nice that I liked a lot, I would still feel very uncomfortable. So I'm just give it some more time, think things over. Heck, maybe I won't be fat by the time I'm emotionally ready, lol. But yeah, people have an emotional wall when it comes to relationships. Granted, both genders go through this. But I'm a man, so it's more relatable to me to talk about men's experiences. But yeah, after enough trauma and rejections or getting their hearts broken, men stop caring about society, caring about women, caring about dating. They resign themselves to solitude. They may even make some friends. Heck, many are like me and just turn to annoying people on the internet, lol. And heck, some like Sandman and Chronic still want to have families despite the way society is, and are planning on using surrogacy, and to them I wish them best of luck. I hope you are great fathers to your sons. But as for me, well, I'm just a crazy guy rambling on the internet in text of a YouTube community post while eating Oreos. But back to what I started talking about when I started this post. Our society is dying. Holidays, in my opinion, are not anything to do with religion or with whatever the holiday is about. It's about family togetherness. A healthy society has happy families, and happy families go trick or treating and do things as a family. We have a society where no one wants kids, where many parents who have kids ignore those kids. Children raised by iPads. We have people sleeping with hundreds of people with no plans of ever settling down with a family, and then people who did the previous but then decided in their late 30s they wanted kids when it's already practically too late. And that is even if you have someone available who wants to marry you. Heck, even with the population of nearly 9 billion people and modern medicine and all the food we have, if everyone in the world waited till 30 to start having kids, we would be extinct in 200 years. Globally, this isn't sustainable. Heck, on a country-wide level, it's past that, and is getting exponentially worse every 10 years. These things are gradual, but once you start seeing it in graphs, the domino effect is already going population collapse. Then again, forget all that. I'm talking more about the survival of a people's culture and way of life. Without healthy families, such things are doomed and die. No nation can survive a lack of families, and such a plague is more lethal to society than any disease, famine, or war. Point being, there are less families trick or treating because there are less families, people are more isolated and paranoid, pandemic largely to blame. Socially, America never recovered. I suspect it's the same for other nations. Let me know if you live in another country and how your country is doing. Are you more lonely now? Do you have less friends? Have you lost family? Been divorced? alienated from kids, got dumped, went through a bad breakup, psychotic partner, got cheated on, don't remember what a hug feels like, given up on dating, given up on having a family, given up on getting a date, feel invisible, feel like society hates you, like no one would care or notice if you just didn't wake up anymore. Expect rejection as the default response to trying to even talk to anyone. But though the CUF lockdowns accelerated our sick, lonely, self-destructive society, it's been coming for a long time. Our world, especially many Western nations, have been on this path for a long time. Society no longer values family or babies or loyalty or love. It's all about hedonism and treating dating like it's fast food for the people who do date, and many others have accepted there is no hope for them to find anyone who cares, let alone to love. And they know that even in the miracle they do that, in the end they will be betrayed, their heart will be broken, they will go through a divorce. Nothing they do or say can prevent it. And in most situations they did nothing wrong, but all they same. One day they will sit before a judge in family court agreeing to the dissolution of your family, and you in your mind are scared and very sad with your mind obsesses with this one single thought: what is going to happen to my children? A healthy society has happy families. If we had a healthy society, then on Trick or Treat Night, we would have the streets packed with smiling moms and dads spending time with the most precious gift the Lord can give you. Trying to make the most of every day watching their child grow up, making happy memories, and telling them every day you love them and are proud of them, and giving them a hug every day. I really wanted to give my son a happy, normal childhood. I'm so very thankful things turned out as well as they did. They could have been much worse. He was 8 pounds when he was born. I watched him being born. I held him shortly after he was born. I held him every day for 3 years after that, gently rocking him, holding and feeding him his bottle, seeing him looking up at me smiling. I really did try my best. I really did try my hardest to be the best dad in the world for him. I'm happy he is well. That is what matters most, my child's safety and health and happiness. But I miss him, am sad, and am never going to stop feeling like that ever. But I will stop talking about it. Show less. Reply. Cancel. Reply.
Hope everyone has a good day. Bye.